Welcome to the Coppercast, presented by the Copper Country Intermediate School District. Our podcast examines how the CCISD is advancing learning for all. I'm your host, Dave Sim, Public Engagement Specialist, and coming up in today's episode, we're highlighting Literacy Month with an interview with Kristen Kariainen, a literacy coach at the ISD. But first, we're celebrating the launch of our new website. Launching on Thursday afternoon, the new coppercountryisd.org is now live, providing a better visitor experience. You can stay up to date with school announcements, learn about upcoming events, access needed contact information quicker and easier than ever. We're also thrilled to announce that we've launched a companion app to go along with our website. The new app helps staff, parents, and community members know what's happening with the ISD right from their phone. Most of us use our phone as a primary means of communication, so we've created an app custom built. On the app, read the latest announcements, locate staff information, review upcoming events, and find important documents, and receive push notifications for critical announcements right to your phone. The Copper Country ISD app is now available to download free from the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store just by searching Copper Country ISD. We hope you like the new website and the app experience. And now, as mentioned at the top, March is Literacy Month. We sat down with Kristen Kariainen, CCISD literacy coach, to learn more about literacy in education.
So I'm Kristen Kariainen. I'm a literacy coach here at the ISD, one of two, and we service all of our districts. And our main role is bringing research of reading into the classrooms and helping schools and teachers bring that research to light in our classrooms of the teaching of reading.
In your opinion, why is literacy a critical skill for students in today's digital world?
Because even in a digital world, we need literacy skills. I was thinking about this this morning when I was watching the news in the morning. And I was thinking even in commercials and the usage of words in commercials and the keywords that people put out there for people. So it's the key to that communication is that literacy piece of being able to choose your words and be able to read the words and be able to choose what you need for communication. So it was interesting because that hit me this morning when I was looking at a TV commercial of you just don't see pictures, you just don't hear words. There's always flashes of words out there on the screen.
What are some of the biggest challenges right now in helping students become literate?
We hear a lot about that motivation of students and really finding that joy in reading and literacy. And when this is reading month, and a lot of times it really amps up now. And that was something we were talking about, like every month should be a focus on it, not just in March. We wait till March. And sometimes it's this time of year where some of those kids have enough skills that they really can dig into it more compared to the beginning of the year. But that's one of our challenges is just that motivation and seeing themselves as a reader. So many of our students that struggle as readers don't see themselves as readers, and really convincing them like, yes, you are a reader, and helping them with it. So as a teacher, time is probably one of the biggest issues that they feel like there's just not enough time with everything that they need to do and get done.
As a literacy coach, how do you help our partners in education? Like how do you help them to motivate students to read? One of the things is just that getting that student engagement in their teaching, and getting the students engaged in their reading and in their learning. Another thing is just trying to bring those best practices to the classroom that sometimes people think that that's not the teaching of reading, but it is. Having people taking that time for the communication that happens when you read, like talking about what you read and things like that. So if I think about what are some of the I don't want to use the word cutting edge, but like what are some of the the modern or current practices that are being used to help encourage students to read?
I have to think really that discussion about reading, and not just reading words, that comprehension of it. I spent a lot of time in second grade, and I always kind of want to go back and apologize to students because I felt like I just got to like the reading the words and not really thinking about what we're reading and why we're reading and what's its purpose for reading and writing. There's a big thing now too, like students need to see themselves like in a mirror in a book, like seeing themselves in a book. They also need to see themselves as like a window to see other people and how other people are across the world. And then we need a sliding glass door where you are going out and you're experiencing those things. So really seeing that as like that purpose of reading. And that's a hard one because we spend so much time on decoding and just reading the words, but really what is the purpose of that reading?
Yeah, like I think of like critical thinking skills, which leads to my question, like in like the digital age, it's more important than ever to have like critical thinking. How has the digital age like changed the approach to reading, either positively or negatively?
It's interesting because I was just, as part of our literacy network, there was research on the exposure of digital text to students, and they did research on all the different, there was like 7 or 8 different digital sources for kids to use for reading, and they had different categories and which would be the best for comprehension, which would be the best for vocabulary, which would be the best for, and they rated it and shared that information with us, and that's something we're going to share out with our literacy leaders. But it's like choosing what we use digitally and not using is a big piece also in our reading, making sure that when we do choose to do things digitally, that they're for the best purpose that we want it to be for students, and really looking at what sources we are using for students.
Are there any like broad digital tools, either like maybe for parents, that you really recommend or think kind of is above all else? I'm a real book person. I can't comprehend digitally reading things. If I get something digitally, I have to print it off and have a piece of paper in hand. So I think it has to do with what their personal learning style is also. So for me, I need that book. I need that in my hands. I have a hard time doing it, so I have not really explored too much in the digital world with reading. Which leads me to my last couple of questions. Celebrating Reading Month, do you have a favorite book or author that has really inspired you or that has stuck with you?
Believe it or not, I always had wonderful role models of readers. My mother was a library book person. My father read the newspaper, but I was not a reader as a student. I really disliked it. And
what changed?
I don't know. I was probably even after I went through college, I read a John Grisham book. Like, I was like one of my first books.
I love John Grisham. He's my favorite author.
And I read it, and now I read a lot on my own. And I thought back, even as a child, we went to the library, and Beverly Cleary in second grade was like, and I look at that now, and I look at that text as a second grade, I'm like, wow, that was like really good reading, but I didn't think I was a good reader. And I think, wow, I read that in second grade. That was pretty good for those books. But I loved the Ramona books and all of those. That was just, I don't know, I still, even as a teacher, read the original Ramona book with my second graders because it just, those Beverly Cleary books for some reason I still remember them on the bottom shelf of Mrs. Petroni's second grade classroom library and going through and reading them all.
I remember reading Encyclopedia Brown.
Okay.
Like I read those a bunch. What's your current reading?
My current reading, in the summer I do a lot of reading. My husband buys a lot of books for me, and he said, oh, you'll like this book, and I read it. And I kind of go through a lot of books in the summer, and I like a lot of mystery books. I like a lot of just books I don't have to think about. There was one author that actually, I can't remember her name, and they take place in a town in Canada that's like a resort town. So I really I enjoyed those because I grew up in that same kind of atmosphere of the resort town and people coming for the summer and then leaving. So there's a lot of authors that I read, and I'm just really bad with names. And I'm lucky enough that for Christmas I have a stack of probably about 25 books that were bought for me because like I said, my husband thinks I will enjoy them, and I most likely will because they're just really lighthearted. But yeah, I also like to dig into books for work as well, and I try to tackle a few of those every year too. My problem is I get a little too inspired after reading them and want to change the world and have to pull myself back.
That's it for this episode of the Coppercast. If you have information or a story for a future episode, we'd love to share it. Please send an email to dsim@copperisd.org. Until next time, thank you for listening and supporting A Love for Learning.